The spring nutrition kickstart has now ended. What do we want to do now? First step is to measure your results and make sure if you have access to our InBody, go on there and track your body composition, look at your dress size, clothes size, waist and hip measurements. And if you've taken some before photos as well, it'd be good to do some after photos right now. From that, you can just track how effective what you've been doing has been. The great thing about tracking your food, weighing and measuring it, logging your calories, and also if you're putting in your activity onto MyFitnessPal, that can also be a useful trick, is it enables you to make adaptations and changes to your diet to see the results that you want to see. For instance, if you found that nothing's really changed with your body composition over the past 4 weeks and you've been sticking to those calorie numbers, you've been looking at your macros and you've been accurately measuring your food, it's really important that during these kickstarts you measure your food accurately, because then we have genuine results we can work around. If you found nothing's changed and you wanted to lose body fat, for instance, then now is the time to think about changing the calorie intake or making sure your macro intake was correct. Whilst those numbers that they give you on MyFitnessPal, or if you use the body composition monitor, they're useful calorie numbers, they aren't accurate for all people because we aren't all the same person. So the way that we metabolize our food is different. The key thing is that we have a benchmark number from there and we can change it as we go along. So if you wanted to lose body fat, then you need to make sure that you are reducing that calorie intake slightly and then tracking that progress again over another period of 2 to 4 weeks. The same if you are doing the opposite. If you're trying to gain weight, definitely look at increasing that calorie numbers. The whole point of that exercise is that we can work out whether something is working or not and adapt as required. This doesn't work if you had several cheat days, cheat moments in your weeks. Basically, if you have cheat days, they're absolutely fine, but be aware that your results will suffer, and it's impossible to track and measure whether that dietary change is effective if you've got cheat days in the middle of it. So if you're looking to gauge the effectiveness of your diet, which is what these kickstarts are all about, you need to make sure you're doing it as cleanly and accurately as possible throughout that period. That way you will know what you need to do to change your body composition and to improve your performance, because it's important if you're looking at performance that you're fueling yourself correctly to enable that best performance. I just listened to a podcast with Matt Fraser talking about when he was training for the CrossFit Games. In the peak periods of his training, he will be consuming 7,000 to 7,500 calories per day. Now, I don't suggest that for most of you because most of you aren't committing to 7 hours of training throughout the day, haven't got his body composition to start with, and are not going to train at the intensity and level that he trains at. But it gives you a great example of actually how many calories people are consuming to perform at the elite level. And therefore, if you're looking at your own performance, maybe you need to think about how you're fueling that. And that's why we put that alongside our body composition. So you have to put them in sort of two camps. You have to think about, okay, if you're trying to change your body composition, then your calorie numbers need to go down, which may, for some people, adversely affect your performance. And if you're looking for performance, then that calorie numbers may need to go up. So you have to find that balance. And that's what I've been doing over this kickstart myself. I found that balance. I've tried to stick actually to the numbers that the InBody gave me. I've been consuming 3,000 for the first couple of weeks, and then I've managed to lose some body fat. So actually those calorie numbers went down to about 2,700 for the past 2 weeks. What I haven't done is I haven't added on any bonus calories for any extra training that I've been doing. So if I've been doing a workout and it says I've burned 800 calories, I haven't then added that on to my daily intake, because I'm actually looking to shift my body composition and drop body fat, which I've done so over the past 4 weeks. I'm actually going to continue on this program for another couple of weeks because I want to try and get back below the 90 kilo mark and back to 10 to 11% body fat. I've managed to drop down over the period of this challenge. I think by about 3%. I need to actually go back and check those numbers, but about 3% body fat, about 2.5 to 3 kilos of body weight as well, which have been really beneficial for me. But I want to get a little bit further, so I'm actually going to just keep monitoring through that period. When I've got to that body composition, then I'll start looking at maybe fueling myself a bit more to improve my performance and help myself gain some more lean tissue, more lean muscle. So I will then look at maybe adapting my diet and increasing my calories to fit around my training, and see how that affects my body composition as well. And that's why it's so important with all of these things to be accurately tracking, because then you can gauge what's effective and what isn't effective. From my perspective, it was a massive eye-opener, as it seems to always be when I do these kickstarts. And that's the whole point of the kickstarts, is it just resets you. So I have an extensive knowledge of nutrition, as I'm sure you've seen. And therefore you think it'd be quite easy for me to make sure I'm eating the right quantities and the right quantities of my macros. But actually, once I stop tracking and I start to just slip out into a non-conscious routine with my diet, although it's not terrible, the protein numbers go down significantly and the calorie numbers do creep up and above. So I end up at a point where I'm not getting enough protein to help build lean muscle, and also I'm getting too many calories, and that will cause me to gain body fat, and that can change my body composition quite dramatically. So it's really important for me with these kickstarts to reset myself. Very useful for me to have these for all of you guys, because it forces me into good habits as well. And that's what you ought to use these kickstarts for, to just stop yourself from falling off the wagon. I don't know if that's the right term, but anyway, just falling off those good habits. And hopefully no one goes from these nutrition kickstarts and just jumps onto really poor dietary habits after that. But you will start to creep. You'll start to creep into poor habits as you go along. And these kickstarts are an opportunity to reset yourself and reestablish good habits back into there. I hope you found what we've done so far useful. I found it useful, and I always do. Even though I've done this several times over my life, I always learn something new from each one of these kickstarts, from each one of these periods where we have to keep an eye on what we're eating. If you've got any questions about what we're doing here, now the next kickstart we're doing will be, I believe, some point in early July, and it will be our no snack challenge. And this is an experiment which we're going to have a little bit more fun with, or a bit more variation with this time around. I'll talk a bit more about that near the time, but we're going to talk about some time restricted and fasting windows in there whilst we're doing that. So those of you that did it last year, there's an opportunity to put some variance on what we're doing. Like I say, with what we've done so far, I'm always happy to answer questions on people's nutrition, because I know how important it is for people to get results. And this is kind of what we're in the business for here at CrossFit Chilton. What I'm definitely in the business for is to see people make changes to their lifestyle, to their body composition, and to their performance. I want to see people get to that peak performance level and get to that peak body composition for their health and longevity. And anything that we can do to help that is only going to be good for all of us. So please, please, please do not be afraid to ask questions in the comments or the email. I'm always happy to answer them as much as I can. Thanks for participating, all of you that have been logging on MyFitnessPal. Feel free to keep doing it if you want to get closer towards your body composition goals. Use this as a kickstart. Don't think of it as, okay, now I stop, I can just go on a binge. And I'm excited for the next couple of months training as well. So those of you that are involved with us here at CrossFit Chilton, let's keep pushing forward and let's see what we can achieve throughout this year. Thanks, guys.